This begins our section on marketing communications, which includes the tools of advertising, public relations, and sales promotion. As you can see from this slide, there are several objectives for this chapter, and this first podcast will focus on the first two objectives, which is on advertising. As we've learned throughout the semester, all advertising decisions include message strategy and media strategy. Message strategy refers to what the ad says and how it says it, whether this is through humor, sex appeal, music, celebrities, expert spokespeople, vignettes, poignancy, which is emotional, kind of bittersweet emotion. And the two primary criteria to evaluate message strategy is how well the ad gains the attention of the target market, and this essentially relies on its attention-getting device, which breaks through the clutter, and how that attention-getting device reinforces the brand name and the primary brand message. In contrast, media strategy refers to where the ad is shown, when it's shown in terms of the time of the day, time of the year, and the frequency with which the ad is shown. And as we go through this chapter, we'll talk primarily about minimizing wasted coverage, cost per thousand, and what the level of frequency or repetition is in order to make an impact. The traditional media categories include print media, such as newspapers and magazine, broadcast media, including radio, TV, cable, outdoor media in terms of billboards and transportation billboards such as at airports or on buses, and of course digital media. These two key issues are the focus of the papers that you will be writing for this class. There are many types of advertising. The first type of advertising is product advertising. And as you can see here, I've put service in parentheses because remember, our definition of product is very broad for this class. Product ads are designed to create awareness of and preference for a particular product or service. This could be building preference for a particular airline, a particular attorney's office, a particular brand of shoe. And the purposes of product advertising is to educate people about new products, to emphasize a brand's features, to create preference, and to do reminder advertising to ensure that people won't forget about a product. Most of these product ads are designed to create a position in the mind of the target market, which can include a brand personality. Another type of advertising is primary demand advertising. Primary demand advertising is designed to stimulate demand for the product class as a whole. The example that you see here is the beef campaign. Beef, it's what's for dinner, emphasizing the role of red meat for protein in contrast to alternative sources of protein that have gained quite a bit of attention in recent years with concerns about the high fat content of red meat. Another type of advertising is institutional advertising, of which there are three subcategories. Corporate advertising promotes the activities, personality, or point of view of an organization. Because corporate advertising is for the company as a whole, it typically falls under the public relations function of business, which you see noted here with my PR in parentheses and the asterisk. Various types of corporate advertising include ads that showcase the company's philosophy of doing business. For instance, if it's focused on being innovative. It can also provide a comprehensive overview of all the products and brands that the company carries. Advocacy advertising is when a company runs an ad campaign designed to focus on a particular cause. For example, we often see companies like Shell Oil running ads for renewable energy to create a better future. A fourth type of corporate advertising focuses on employment and emphasizes the career opportunities by working at a particular company. Another type of institutional advertising is nonprofit advertising. The way that you recognize nonprofit advertising is typically you look at the sponsor of the ad, and if it's a nonprofit organization, then it falls in this category. Nonprofits are not trying to sell you anything. They're trying to create awareness, and oftentimes they're trying to solicit donations. A subset of nonprofit advertising is called a public service announcement. Public service announcements are paid for, the media is paid for either by the media as a pro bono ad placement, and oftentimes if these ads have the Ad Council logo, it means that the U.S. government has paid for the media expense to run the ad. Trade associations oftentimes run ads on behalf of their members. Trade association advertising oftentimes is designed to stimulate primary demand. So, for example, the beef campaign is run by the American Stock Growers Association. Retail and local advertising is another type of advertising, and the reason that it's broken out separately is for two reasons. One is it is designed to encourage customers to shop at a specific store, and in that sense, if we view the store as the quote-unquote product with our broad definition, then at some level retail advertising is no different than product advertising. The primary difference is that retail advertising, when it's run in newspapers and local TV stations, gets a very different rate to run the ad than national advertisers do. This is why national advertisers often rely on cooperative advertising, in which the manufacturer reimburses the retailer for the cost of running those ads as long as the retail ad meets the manufacturer's cooperative advertising standards. Business-to-business advertising appears in magazines where the target customer is other businesses, and in addition to the traditional business publications such as Business Week, Fortune and Wall Street Journal, Forbes, etc., there are a number of trade journals that are focused on specific industries in which the ads carry quite a bit of prominence and importance. Advertising can be created either by the client who is running the ad or by an ad agency who creates the ad on behalf of the client. Ad campaigns require a comprehensive plan to accomplish objectives, and these campaigns essentially include a series of ads that run in the media over time. In the advertising industry, there are three primary players. The clients are the companies whose products are being advertised, for instance Budweiser, and those clients typically have advertising managers on their staff. Budweiser runs its ads in the media, so for example they might run ads on the NFL football. And in this particular case, all the media do have sales reps that try to sell ad space to the clients as well as to the ad agencies that manage those client accounts. Within the ad agencies, and there are both large and small ad agencies, large ad agencies include Chiat Day, Wong Doody, gray advertising, and locally we have Partners Creative. Ad agencies have several departments. Account managers essentially do the strategy and the planning for the client. They work with the creative services in the agency who actually writes the headlines, writes the copy, takes the photos, and shoots the spots. Most agencies focus heavily on collecting research to ground their strategic recommendations, and ad agencies also have a media planning function to identify what are the best media to spend the client's advertising dollars. A big trend in advertising today is user-generated advertising, and we've called this the Web 2.0 environment, where we have a lot of do-it-yourself participation in all types of marketing. Although user-generated advertising is a great way to engage customers, it does mean that the company gives up some control to customers, and oftentimes those ads can be parodies or spoofs that the company needs to accept as part of the engagement. Crowdsourcing is something that we talked about when we discussed new product development in Chapter 8, and it's the idea that consumers are a great source of ideas not only for advertising but also for products. Advertising with its most visible presence in the marketing mix is definitely the focus of many controversies, including concerns that it is manipulative and it makes customers buy product that they don't need, that it's deceptive and deceives consumers, that it's offensive and in bad taste when it objectifies women, for example, that it creates and perpetuates stereotypes, and as I've mentioned, that it causes people to buy things that they don't need. These are all legitimate concerns, and the fact is advertisers do have a code of ethics, and we can look at those through the various advertising industry trade associations. As we've seen with the other tools in the marketing mix, there is a process that companies go through to establish an advertising campaign. We already know how to do research to identify and understand the target audience. The next step is to establish the objectives for the campaign in terms of the message strategy, as well as how much money can be spent. These issues in Step 2 are actually covered in Chapter 12. Step 3 is when the creative department in the agency actually develops the ads. This typically is based on a creative platform or a creative brief, and the brief helps communicate what the strategy is for the positioning to the creative types, and it includes the big idea, also known as a unique selling proposition, a USP. And as we've mentioned previously, the two critical concerns is how the ad breaks through the clutter and how that attention-getting device reinforces the brand name. There are many different execution formats for the creative strategy, and for students who go on to take a course in Integrated Marketing Communications, which is required for all marketing majors, they will go through each of these types of message appeals. Comparison ads that do a side-by-side comparison between the company's product and one or more competitors, demonstrations of how the product works, customer testimonials, slice of life, which shows the ad being used in a typical life setting, and lifestyle ads, which essentially highlight how the product is part of a customer's lifestyle. As we've seen previously in class, the use of sex appeals is a common strategy in marketing, and there are differences in the way men and women view sex appeals in advertising. Women tend to respond more favorably to sex appeals that have a romantic aspect to them, whereas men tend to respond more favorably to ads that have a more overt sexual appeal. Other types of creative tactics include animation, music, jingles, slogans, and we've already talked about celebrity spokespeople. Celebrity spokespeople can be an excellent attention-getting device, and oftentimes the celebrities are chosen so that their unique attributes are transferred to the product and imbue that product with similar attributes. It's critically important before an advertiser actually buys space in the media that they pre-test to ensure that the message strategy is on target. The idea of pre-testing is to minimize mistakes before running the ads in the media. The next step is to actually develop the media schedule. Media planners develop media objectives, strategies, and tactics. Traditional media include TV, radio, newspapers, and magazines. And the fact is, the bulk of an advertiser's budget is still spent in traditional media. And despite trends moving ads into the digital environment, it is important for students to understand the pros and cons of traditional media. There is a table in your book in Chapter 13 that I would like you to study on your own. I recommend you make a copy of that page of pros and cons and study them for your exam. We will have a digital day in which we go over digital media so that you're very comfortable understanding how online advertising works. Branded entertainment is a form of advertising in which marketers integrate their products into either TV shows, movies, or video games. And the way that this works is that there are agencies in Hollywood who handle product placements. They're aware of which scripts are being made into movies and shows, and they are designed to approach advertisers whose products may be a good fit to ask if they would like to pay for the opportunity to have their products placed in those venues. It's quite interesting to me that as an author of a textbook, I feature many products in my high-tech marketing book. Most companies are very pleased to be featured in a book, although a couple companies did ask me how much I was willing to pay them in order to have them featured in my book. And my response to them was, I don't think you understand. Normally in product placement, the advertiser pays for the right to have their product showcased. So it's kind of interesting how the power has shifted balance in the industry over time. As you can see, there are still a lot of support media. Directories such as the Yellow Pages are not used as much in consumer marketing, but definitely in business-to-business marketing, directories are important. Out-of-home media include things like ads in bathroom stalls, place-based media at the stadiums, RFID technology. The thing that we use most in my high-tech class here are QR codes, or the 2D barcodes. In terms of media planning, how often to say it requires whether an advertiser will use a continuous schedule dividing all their ads evenly over a particular amount of time, whether they will post those ads at intervals, or a flighting schedule where they have a heavy on and then a heavy off period. For purposes of your paper, this is the primary slide that I would like you to use in evaluating the media placement of the ads that you select for your paper. The most important aspect is identifying who the target market is for the product and who is the audience of the particular media vehicle that you're evaluating. The objective here is to ensure that all of the eyeballs that the advertiser pays to reach are actually in the target market for their product. And if an advertiser has bought an ad in which the people who see it are not in the target market, then that is considered to be wasted coverage. Nearly all media buys have some degree of wasted coverage, and the idea is that advertisers should strive to minimize that. In addition, in making media placement decisions, advertisers do like to know where their competitors are advertising. It's been interesting to watch the Montana State University Bobcats place ads during the University of Montana football games, and that is something that we will evaluate in class. Various media categories have different capacities to convey information. For example, radio ads are very quick, they talk very quick, and then they're gone. Billboards, you blink and you've driven by them. Magazines, people are actively engaged in reading and the ads can convey more information. It's important that for high involvement goods, that if you're trying to convey a lot of information, that you actually use a high involvement or rich media. Finally, all media have an editorial content or an editorial climate. This refers to the mood that people are in when they're watching a TV show or when they're reading a magazine. For example, when a woman sits down to read Cosmo, she's in a very different mood than if she's sitting down to read Fast Company magazine for her work. And in this particular case, it's important to match not only the type of product being advertised, but also the message appeal in the ad so that it's appropriate to the editorial climate of the media environment. Finally, cost per thousand is a measure of cost efficiency of each media vehicle. The way that cost per thousand is computed is it takes the dollar cost of an ad, whether it's a 4-color full-page ad in a magazine or a 30-second spot on national TV. It divides that cost by the number of people reached, and this denominator is available from the media kit. Every single media has an audited circulation number, and the reason for this is when you think of what is the product that the media sell, it's not the content of the TV show or the magazine, it's actually the audience, because the ads pay for the cost of developing those shows. So CPM is the dollar cost of an ad in a particular vehicle divided by the number of people that that vehicle reaches, multiplied times 1,000. So let's say, for example, a Super Bowl ad that costs $3.2 million for 30 seconds reaches so many people that the CPM is approximately $25 to reach 1,000 people. That's a very efficient media buy. Ads online are oftentimes priced in terms of CPM. It allows advertisers who want to use digital media to compare the price of digital ads to traditional media. And each media category, each media vehicle has a particular CPM that reflects the desirability of those eyeballs and how narrow of a target market those eyeballs are. We will be computing CPMs for your papers in this class. After the ad runs in the media, then the advertiser essentially does an evaluation of how well the campaign worked. There are many measures of post-campaign effectiveness. Oftentimes surveys will ask consumers, did you see any ads last night? What ads did you see? Did you see any ads for dog food? Did you see any ads for IMs? And attitudinal measures capture perceptions and ideas of what the brand stands for. This ends our podcast for advertising.